welcome to John F. Kennedy International Airport in the PMDG 777-300, an airplane that I fly for a living, not the PMDG model, but for major US Airline. And I am Father Time, and if you would not mind subscribing, be your best friend. Got external power hooked up, cold dark airplane. We're going to start it up, get the FMC program, that's it. We're not going to play with the jet bridges or anything. Why am I doing this video? Well, I'm qualified to do it in terms of knowing the airplane, not so much on the P3D, Prepare 3D platform. I'm new to Simulation World, brand new to YouTube. This PMDG, though, is a study level model. I could absolutely 100%, in fact I am, preparing for recurrent training by flying this model around. Here we are, cold dark airplane. Be honest with you, I'm a captain. This is usually all done when I get out to the aircraft. The first officers have usually got this all up and running. What a wealth of experience on these airplanes. I retire in September after 36 years. I'm flying with guys that are incredible pilots, incredible people. We have, if we go on a four-person crew to New Delhi, India, it's not uncommon to have around 150 years of flying experience in the cockpit. Like, wow, it's probably an exaggeration, more like 120, give or take 30, right? So anyway, cold dark airplane. We check the logbook and the operations on our iPads. You could scan this code over here. You could scan and get your iPad up and running. We still have paper logbooks. That's about to go away in most major airlines. Just take a general look around. You realize that you have your camera set too far back for the YouTube screen. Guys, I have to get used to doing the sound correctly. I'm getting a lot of criticism on that, understandably. Remembering that you can't see anything that's on my 49-inch screen way over here. Pretty much everything I'm talking about has to be right in the middle of my screen. So feel free to comment, help me out here, but subscribing is the big thing that you could really help an old fella out. So anyway, cold dark airplane, logbooks, there's no triangles here, plastic triangles saying don't touch controls. We're hoping it's safe to power up the airplane, but before we do, we take a look around. Let me go forward a little bit more, like that, so we can see everything. We make sure the fire levers are in, fuel levers are down, stab cutouts are up, the throttles are idle, thrust levers down, speed brakes down, flaps are down, because we are about to bring power on the airplane. We don't want to hurt anyone. Gear lever is down, and no one's working on the airplane. Believe it or not, on every airplane, they want you to check the wipers. Left and right wipers are in the off position so you don't scratch the windscreen. And at that point, we do notice, passing, we have primary and secondary external power. At this 777, when all the galleries are up and running, is a power hog on the ground. So you usually have two external powers. I'll be honest with you, both the primary and secondary, either one of them could handle it. The APU definitely can handle the whole load, but we try to always keep two sources on. So we turn on the battery, and we primary first, secondary second, and that's it. Now I'm going to start the APU up because we're going to get going as quickly as possible. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to do a fire test. I'm not good at this simulator thing. I'm going to push. I'm telling you, I'd be looking down while I'm holding this, scanning around. I don't know how to do it. Do I know how to do it? Nope, I don't know how to do it. But anyway, then making sure we had all the appropriate lights. Now that we see that, we know it's safe to start the APU. And I'm going to start it. Give it time to start. ADARU, that's like the IRS's. This controls all of them. If you want to, if this is on and the airplane came in and it's going right back out, turn it off for 30 seconds and get a full line. Once we get that going, it takes a while for the boxes to gin up and get the lighting going. Yeah, this, wow, this PMDG is something else. They got all sorts of functions on the menu here, like PMG setup, flight service actions, flight simulation actions, where you can simulate failures. You imagine all the failures. I've been playing with it a lot. It's got an iPad over here that can do a lot of stuff that like the Phoenix A320 can do. Performance page. If you have a subscription to Navalogs, call up terminal charts. performance data, takeoff data, all sorts of pilot utility data, you name it. It can kind of do it all. So it takes a little while. This is not uncommon. So as a captain, the FO and the captain usually stay in ops. The FB or the FC will typically run out to the airplane, do the walk around, get the airplane fired up, check the logbook, even get the flight plan loaded. Pretty much everything you want. And the displays this is pretty realistic. I've got the RUs on realism for alignment. They take 7 to 10 minutes. Guys who've been on the airplane a long time know they usually wait until the boxes are all up and running before they do this, but not me, not Captain Marvel. So I'm going to go FMC, right? Check the database, make sure it's up to date. If not, I can switch them around. Somebody's coughing in the cockpit. All right, so there you go. I have all sorts of problems. GPS is the best way to update the position. I'm old school, no requirement to do this. I put this in the reference page at the airport just to check for reasonableness. Every once in a while, or never, it's off. And that's it. Iris aligning, that's all you do here, because you want to get that done within 10 minutes. Here's the time to align, listed right here, about 7 minutes. How do you know you're in a 300, not a 200? Well, one way is there's a camera button. You push that, and the camera comes in. You can see the nose gear. And also there's a, sorry guys, sim glitch. There's a camera light up here. Yeah, the camera, you can't use it for takeoff and landing, but it shows you underneath each engine and the landing gear. Comes in handy. This 300, you're really going to square your turns off. But if you were looking for the ground crew or something, you can take a look down there. Once again, can't operate on takeoff and landing. All right, so we got the APU. Is it running? Let me see something here. Let's see the status message. Nothing. Nope, still starting up. Okay. So we've got the up and running. We turn the emergency lights to armed, and now we're going to start. We do the walk around. Everything's done outside. We're going to start the overhead panel. Let me back it up here while we do that. Okay. Overhead panel. Boeings, we go down the columns like that. So ADA 30 seconds to align. And I told you that the align time, you're wondering how much, we still got 5 minutes to go. Important stuff is we have the coordinates already in. Primary flight computer switches guarded, no lights. Thrust asymmetry computer, what that is real nice, old man's airplane, baby. You lose an engine, it puts in the rudder for you. And asymmetry makes the engine out's a whole lot easier. It even does a funny little thing that if you lose it, you got to be over 70 knots for it to work. And if you lose it on the runway, it doesn't put it in right away. It's, so that you know which engine. Lets it yaw a little bit, then it puts it in. When it's more than 10% difference between the engines, that thing kicks in. And but if you're up in the airborne, it's going to put that rudder in right away. It's a really great feature. Like I said, old man's airplane, baby. This is a, oh, I think I just paused it. Sorry, guys. Yeah, a lot of this P3D platform, I click off a lot of things just by being over-caffeinated. All right, so external power. See this now. What do we say? So when the APU came on, it kicked off the secondary, right? We're going to leave on APU power and external. We want to always try to have two sources. But APU can handle everything. Might shed a galley, might not. But for now, we'll leave on external. But you see it kicked off the secondary automatically. That's the passenger entertainment system. Bus ties, all in auto. Back up to all these lights are normal. Wipers off. Back up top. Ground proximity runway override. That's if it's not in a database or a place, but in general, if you're going to do something with the GPWS, override switches. Those are all down here. Flap override, gear override, ground slope, terrain override, runway override, just to take the whole database out in case it doesn't know where it is and it's giving you warnings. Emergency lights are on, passenger oxygen, this is for mass switch. It's all automated back there, but you do press and hold it for 3 seconds if you want to back it up, make sure the mass did in fact go out. Window heat, we just leave that on this. The rat that comes on with dual engine failure gives you back a lot of instruments. Ram air turbine. Hydraulic panel, funny thing here, when we turn them on, I'm going to go through this, we usually turn it to auto and you wait for the fault light to go out. These are electric pumps, these are electric, these are all electric, these are demand pumps. When that fault light goes out, you turn these on. Then you come back and turn these all on. But we do that prior to engine start. That's so that there's no transfer fluid loss. Turn them off opposite, like this. Some airlines go this way all the way on, but most airlines turn this one on when the fault light goes out. They turn these so there's no fluid transfer. No smoking signs on, passenger seat is off. This is how we chime the flight attendants. Usually leave it in auto. Circuit breaker lights. Oh, this is an interesting thing. See these little dots here? 1, 2, 3. I think there's 9 of them. 1, 2, 3. Bunch down here. Lighting rheostats. As long as these switchers are on the dot, that master controls them. You can do individual ones, take it over, but the master controls any switches that are on the dot. So you could actually, if you left them all on the dot, you can control every light in the cockpit with the master. We'll put them all bright. But if it was out of the dot position, it doesn't work on that particular one. Little known fact, little cared about, right? So where were we? Hydraulic panels all good. Fasten seatbelts. So circuit breaker light. We talked about that. Okay, here we are. We should have on the nav lights, not the beacon. Right? That's all we have. We're back up top. Make sure you can see it. We already did the fire test. These are the EECs. They control the thrust settings. Make sure you don't overboost the engine. The start switch. When we start, we leave this in auto start. On the 300, you start the left engine first, then the right engine. 200, you can actually start them both at once. Turn this over to start, both of them, and they'll start and bring the fuel levers up right away, and they auto start. None of that, they'll auto shut down and reattempt to start up to 3 times for certain malfunctions. Fuel jettison, what we do is we open these switches and we arm it, pushing that button, open these switches and start dumping fuel. I think it's like 5,000 pounds per minute on the 300. So we take that 10 minutes, 60,000 pounds. Yeah, it's a 310,000 pound airplane, fuel-wise. It's 775,000 max takeoff weight. So, you know, it's pretty slow, all things considered. It's supposed to be, if you don't want to asphyxiate people on the ground, it's supposed to be up above 7,000 feet or so it dissipates. But if you need it, you need it. So I always tell the guys, super heavyweight takeoffs out of Delhi or something, that if you think we need to dump, just start dumping. Don't wait for me. I don't care what the altitude is. Cross feeds are closed. You do not want these open. Cross feeds are closed. Rest of the fuel pumps are off for the moment. Wing anti-ice, all automated system. We do turn on the engine ice after start on the ground, but in the air, it's all automated. It's got little spinners out there that determines when it needs auto ice, engine ice. If you leave them all in auto in the air, like I said, you don't use the wing anti-ice on the ground. Engine anti-ice, if you can turn them on after engine start if you have visible moisture, 10 degrees or less, or on the stuff on the taxiway, snow or ice or sleet, slush. That's the only time we touch them. Otherwise, we leave them in auto, and they go on and off if they need to be. And I'll tell you what, they almost never go on. Tells you how often we overuse it. Boeing didn't even want to, the GE didn't even, Pratt & Whitney didn't even want any engine ice on it. And Boeing made it, the FAA made them do it. Lights are there, all these light turnoffs are off. You can do an indicator test. I leave it in bright, but test it, they all come on. Cargo fire we did. Okay, air conditioning panel, equipment cooling fans, Gasper fans, recirc fans. We just leave these on. Obviously, if you wanted to clear smoke out of the cabin, you could turn off these recirc fans. It would open the overboard exhaust valve, and it would increase the airflow to the train. We used to use it when people smoked on the airplanes. We turn off the recirc fan. Flight deck temperatures, 2 zones. Flight attendants have a rheostat in the back, plus or minus. I believe it's 5 degrees. I'm going to turn the packs, get those ready to go, because we're about to start. Put the APU air on, we'll get the packs running. Leads, that's all normal. This is all normal. Engines, we leave, that's auto position, actually. Outflow valve, the only time we ever touch this if we're going to go with manual pressurization. Hope you can see all that. But we make sure there's no manual lights here. Wipers there, and that's the overhead. Next thing we do is we come down, we're going to work our way across. Yeah, this P3D, I'm still getting used to it, guys, sorry. Work our way across. Like I said, on the dot, the master up there controls it. Not on the dot, it's controlled individually. Shoulder heat, feet heat. Yeah, we usually, long haul, we usually turn these on. Plus, we's old. Clock is set, running. Transfer, the instrument transfer switches are all in the normal position. The captain would set up his stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute. We come across. This is the IFSDS. That's the standby instruments. We go down here. There's things we do on the pre-flight up here on the panel. We go right across the top. Check engine page. Checking the oil quantity. I'm forgetting right now. I think it's 21 and 21 on the 22 on the 300 and 19 on the 200. I'd have to look that up. Got to study, right? I'm going to put this RTO on while I'm here. After that, we go to status page. We check down to see if there's anything. It would be enunciated, and there isn't. Then we come across the bottom, checklist, where we actually go and we reset all the checklists. My FOs would be so impressed. It's been so long since I've done one of these. They would be so impressed that I knew what the heck I was doing. And then, oh, by the way, this is the greatest thing about the 777. All your emergency procedures, other than the QRC, quick reaction stuff, which is on a card, it's all done through the box. All your checklists are done through the box. If it's green, it means it's done. If it's blue, it means it doesn't apply. If it's white, it needs to be done. It's just the best. This whole airplane in real life is the best. All right, so we did the engine, we did the status, checklist. We set normal and abnormal. Recall, go to COM, and that's not going to work. There's one thing that doesn't work. There's ATC things on here, aircraft status, aircraft masters. Doesn't work on this model. That is like nothing, no big deal. But yeah, they don't. Let's check down here again. Yeah, that's where you get your ACARS things and your ATC for CPDLC, all that stuff. So that's all done. Now we come down to the center console. So what have we done? Let's go back over this real quick. We did the initiation, made sure everything was up, and we did, remember, we went down 3 columns, top to bottom, then we came all the way in here. We started down in the bottom left-hand corner, and we came across, and then down the center like this. Probably couldn't have seen that. And then down the center. Auto brakes are RTO, alternate gears up. We don't do any tests here. We don't test anything on the ground proximity. We'll deal with the altimeters in a moment. Spoiler levers down, throttles down, flap levers up. Fuel cutoff control switches are cut off. Snap trim cutoff switches are in normal position. This is flight director, flight control switch is in normal position. That's off. I got to come forward, don't I? Look at this old guy knowing how to do this. Come on, guys. Don't you wish your grandpa knew how to do this shit? Stuff. We use this for ACARS. And if you want to know if it's in ACARS mode, it's got to be in data on COM3. There's a fully operational observers panel down here that the guy can do. So you can delegate a lot of tasks in an emergency. This guy has his own comm panel. This guy has his own panel. They're fully qualified, highly qualified pilots, and very sharp. They can do a lot for you just sitting back here. We can communicate through company and the flight attendants through here. Push button turns on the switch. That's where you're transmitting and receiving. If you just want to receive, just push the button down for receive. Transmit and receive, doesn't matter where that one is. We're transmitting and receiving here. Want the speaker on, which we do. That's it. We usually turn these off and turn on. This is how the captain's panel is set up for pre-flight. He's on enter, and he or she's speaker is all the way up on both sides. Usually what we do. That talks to the ground for engine start. All right, let's see. Setting the squawk. We'll just say that's set. We usually go TARA in the United States as soon as we do the pre-flight after we get our clearance in a while. And trims are neutral. Aileron trim is on the top of the yoke. See that? Elevator trim is neutral. Phone's in the socket. Evac switch down. This is how you evac. You hold this thing up, and you click it, and pull this to silence the horn. I will not demonstrate that. Glide lights are off. Here's an aisle panel. Remember that master switch? As long as that's on the dot, we can control it with the master. If you wanted the aisle panel, you could bring that up a little higher. All right, so going back, Captain has his stuff to do. The FO has their stuff to do. So we start back over here. This is not the oxygen mask we have, but you press the test, do your oxygen test, check your mic quantity. Captain comes across, checks their clock. No one wanted things in here. Sets the altimeter. And today it's 2992. Captain sets it twice. Once there, once here. Be honest with you, by the time you get out to the airplane, first officers have your altimeter set, your engine out acceleration set, and your baro. It's usually Kennedy here. It's 810. So that's how you go to radio. That's how you go to baro. You see that? You see here. We set it on baro, and we spin this up to engine out acceleration. Normally the captain's in map. You want to check the route. It's in plan, and check that. And of course, now we go to the mode control panel. This will be set up by the time you got here. Maybe an assumption on the clearance before we get the clearance. That's thousands. That's hundreds. Or thousands. What FOs will usually do is they'll put in like 5,200 instead of 5,000. That tells you they really haven't got the clearance yet. I don't care about that stuff. Let's say we're on runway 4. We preset this to runway heading, Chair Kennedy 044. And we'd spin in V2. We'll get that in a minute, but let's say it's 170. And we'd arm LNAV, VNAV if we had the box loaded. Loading the box. That's the pre-flight. Loading the box. Let's go right down here, and I'm going to put this in front of us and drag it up in front of you. Like that. I'm going to extend it. As I mentioned, we come up here in the init index. We've already checked the ident page. Make sure the database is great. The next database we plugged in here, we could reselect it and line select it back up. Position init, we already did that. Whatever you need usually pops up in the bottom right. Route. Right now, we wouldn't even have to, in the real airplane, all we do is hit route request. Well, let's say we're going to Delhi, KJFK, and VIDP. I have a flight plan in there. You can route request it, and it'll come up. Now, I'll talk about loading it manually later on. Request sent. Route uplink ready. Activate. Execute. And our call sign is Father Time 123. Don't forget to subscribe, kids. And we'll say we're going off runway 4 left. We can set this here. And we're going to load up our route. It takes a little while, especially going to Delhi, to get the execute light. Just be patient. Yeah, you don't want to do this till the IRSs are completely aligned. Activate, execute. And I route copy it right away, though technically you don't do that until after you checked it. That loads everything but the SIDS. All the way to New Delhi. 7,000 miles, how's that? Yikes. If you want to load the SIDS, you come in here, let's say we're going to do the JFK1. Actually, what are we, yeah, 4 right, 4 left. And then you can execute it. Arrival, if you really want to put that in over at Delhi, you get 16 hours to do it. Let's say we're doing the SAM, SP transition, ILS 27, and you execute that. Now what also happens is you're going to get the winds. If all of a sudden your winds will not update perfectly en route, you probably never activated them down here. It's already sent, so the wind should be coming shortly. So there's your perf and it. Accept it. 0 fuel weights 434.1. Takeoff weight 732. Wind uplinks ready. You go to legs, route, load. Takes a while because it's a long flight. Execute, and then it's going to give you descent winds. You go to VNAV. Next page, go to descent, forecast, load. And that's it. And these takes a little while for these to pop up. There they are. Now on the VNAV page, you can change anything you want. We're going to be over, our premium maneuver is 258. So we're going to tell ATC that for operational reasons, we'll need 270 on departure. Usually tell tower just so they can get the spacing right ahead of you because we're really heavy. And then we could actually set our cruise. Econ's fine. Descent, that's fine for now. Plenty of time to do that. So what do? We did our init. We checked the database. Right? We did our position it. We updated that. We did our route. We did our SIDS. We route copied. We came back over. We did make sure our perf was in there. We're going to go flaps 15. CG, I'm looking on my laptop here. It's 29. And we can activate all these. And go to page 2. Look at our engine out acceleration heights, 800 feet AFL, 1,500 foot for our thrust reduction and climb power. Normally we do our thrust reduction 1,500. But if we were going to do a ICAO-1 over in Europe, we do accel height at 3,000, thrust reduction at 1,500. And that's how we do it. No active route. Yeah, pretty sure you have an active route there, kiddo. Yep, it's all set. All right, that's it. Come back here. You want to get rid of this bad boy? We click back there. And that is the origination pre-flight. And we would go to the checklist. A little bit about the checklist. Here it is. Over here, can you see that? Very sensitive about that. I've been messing that up a lot. Electronic checklist. I would say, okay, how about the pre-flight checklist? You go through, I'll show it to you again. And when you click it, oxygen check. Flight instruments, we don't check it. Parking brake set. Oh, that should have been something I checked when I walked in. And then when checklist is complete, it goes green. You go to the next one before start checklist. Flight deck doors closed and locked. Passenger signs on. Passenger signs are on. See, when I turned it on, it went green. MCP, we checked that. Come on, baby. 174, I believe it was 172. 044, we're going to go VNAV on departure, and we're going to go heading hold. Normally it's a 100 heading at 1.5 DME out of Kennedy. Would have gotten our clearance and put everything in there too by now. Just want to show you this electronic checklist. You're going to love this. Takeoff speeds, we check all those. We already did the CDU pre-flight. The way you do a CDU pre-flight is you come up and it takes forever on the Delhi flight. We're not going to do it, but I just love that you can do this. You go to plan mode, and when you go to plan mode, you start off en route. You go through the route with the guys. It says no active route. Why does it say no active route? Yeah, I think that's a simism, guys. Looks like to me it's done. But you go through the route pages all the way to the end. And then after that, you slew through on the step page. You can imagine daily how long that takes you. And the way you check it is up here. You don't check here, you're looking for discontinuities. So you say Nantucket. Now if there's a SID, you check the points on the SID versus your iPad for the actual SID you're flying. Same thing with the arrival. The whole time you're slewing through, you're reading these points. It gets very laborious and very long. And at this point, you are going to call this checklist, the trim, set it, the way you get the trim is you go to knit, takeoff page, and the trim's right there, 5.25. And we'd set 5.25. Usually we don't bother doing this. Until engine start. There's 5.25 set. By the way, this checklist is not the one I use, but it works just fine. And remember, this is before start checklist, and you're going to get the beacon on. Beacon is on. This is after you call for push, and you say the before start checklist is complete. There it is. The next one's going to be before taxi. I hope you enjoyed that. That is the origination pre-flight on the 777-300. My co-pilots would be so impressed that I made it through there. They'd have a lot of corrections. They'd be really impressed. That's on the PMDG. Wonderful product. Father Time. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you wouldn't mind, guys. Father Time is out. We'll see you guys.